Good evening, my name is Danielle and I'm here with Paul Fitzgerald.
I founded Hawksmoor Construction nearly 9 years ago. We specialise in delivering prime residential construction projects in London and the home counties.
You've built Hawksmoor and scaled to 8 figures.
Myself, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, because most of the answers are in your head. That's the reason why you run the business. The next person that asks me, I'm going to say yeah to it.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
Yeah. You've been invited now onto podcasts and to do live Q&As.
I'll say a young father, I'm 40 in a couple of weeks, but a father of young
still
children.
feel 21.
Yeah, I still feel 21, yeah. I always try and keep my mindset to be the person or the leader that people want to believe in.
Good evening, my name is Danielle and I'm here with Paul Fitzgerald. If you know Paul, you'll know that he's more than a business owner. He is a father, a husband, and even a business mentor. I've known Paul now for a few years, and this evening he's under a little bit of pressure. We've been asking him to do a podcast for a little while, but I am a public speaking coach. So Paul knows that I'm going to be analysing his every if, but, and maybe. So Paul, no pressure, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do?
So I founded Hawksmoor Construction nearly 9 years ago. We specialise in delivering prime residential construction projects in London and the home counties, and do a lot of property development on the side as well. And more recently, I've got myself into sort of ground up business coaching, where I like to help other business owners like myself who come off site, possibly didn't really know where to start, and help them avoid the mistakes that I possibly made along the way and help and guide them where I can.
Yeah, amazing. I'm sure there's been a few mistakes and we're going to touch on the learnings and the journey that you've been on. But thinking about starting your business, can you take us back to that moment when you knew that Hawksmoor had to exist? How did that come about?
I think, yeah, it was my previous employment when I worked for somebody for about 14 years. I worked for two business partners. One of them was quite inspirational to work for, really wanted everyone to be their best. He was a tough taskmaster. He expected the best, but he was the kind of leader that you could rally behind and follow. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other business partner was the opposite of that. And we never really clicked, never really got on with him. And he used to show up to site some days and a sense of fear would come over you, as if almost like, what have I done now? You'd have no idea what you've done wrong. But ultimately it was that sense of fear that he pulled up, or you get a phone call to come to the office, and it could be for something simple to pick up some drawings or something like that. So what I sort of realised is I felt like I could create a company that could deliver exceptional work, but also build a company that could really build exceptional people as well.
Amazing. I love that. Going back to creating a business, being a business owner and scaling to the level that you have, what is one misconception that is out there about running a business in those first few years?
That you're supposed to know all the answers as a business owner. I think everybody thinks that when they look to other business owners that are either on that they might know or on Instagram or websites, that they think, oh, they have it all worked out. One thing that I know now after, nearly 9 years in business is I think a business always looks better than it does from the outside. And it always feels worse from the inside, if that makes sense. So for me, I know scores of business owners, and everybody, regardless of the size of their company, whether they are a team of a one-man band or one person working for themselves or someone running hundreds of people, everybody has issues across the companies. There's nobody that has it all sussed or has the perfect life. And I think ultimately it's all about just trying to find what works for you as a business owner to give you the life that you want. Most importantly, yeah.
Thank you. And going back to those early years when, we do think that we need to have all these answers and know everything and our way is the best way. What has a failure taught you from those early years that you still carry with you today?
Well, I think it's the fear of failure that motivates me the most. Mm-hmm. Because, again, going back to that business partner sort of situation, being told by one of them that you should be doing this yourself one day, but yet being told the other one that you're not worth more than the £130 a day before tax we're paying you, and repeatedly told that every time you ask for more money because you're running multiple projects and stuff. So it's almost always been like a way for me to turn around and not necessarily prove him wrong, but prove myself right, that I can do it. And the opposite of that is the fear of failure, that I can't fail or I don't want to fail because I want to strive forward and push forward and create my own path, I think not being afraid to fail as well is very important, and that it's okay to make it up as you go along. And the only way that you're going to learn is by making mistakes. And in the early years, I'm sure every business owner like myself makes tons of them, hopefully none of them are catastrophic enough to put you out of business. And as long as you sort of hold your hands up when mistakes are made, you own it, you put the mistakes right. Hopefully you can use them as lessons to move forward in the business.
Yeah, I think that's really important to put that out there as well for new entrepreneurs, new business owners, to see someone in your position to say, you don't have to have it all figured out. A lot of people, I think, in this day and age are afraid to fail. So they're waiting for it to be perfect, waiting for the perfect business plan, waiting for everything to align, and then they'll do it. Or, feeling super confident and then they'll do it. But really the confidence and the learning comes from just doing it and failing, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, I think ultimately most business owners that start are probably perfectionists, and they want everything to be perfect. But that perfectionism only exists in your head. It doesn't really exist in the outside world, if that makes sense. So sometimes you have to accept that your 80% is good enough for the world, for the marketplace. It's something that we've had to go through as my business has scaled up. For many, many years, I certainly tried to finish every project to 100% of my standard. And I used to deliver every single project as if it was my own home. That's the kind of care and attention I used to put into it. And I think that's what the brand of Hawksmoor has been built on, is that quality. It's an expensive way to run a company, because I was often putting work right, even after it had been signed off, because I wasn't personally happy with it. But again, I wanted to make sure that we were known for doing an amazing job. And part of the scale up of this business has been finding the right people that we can kind of let go of control to, but understanding that trying to expect them to get it to my 100% is not possible, because everyone's level of 100% is somewhere different. What you have to decide is what is your collective 100%, and while it might have been possible while I was on every job every day, every other day, or 2 or 3 times a week, if I'm only visiting a site once a week now, once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks for whatever reason, trying to hold them to my standard is not possible. Yeah. And what I have to do is surround myself with the right people that can get the projects to a level that is better than the market, and that's where I believe we're there comfortably now. So, but that's taken many years to get there and find the right people as well. So.
And you mentioned a few times there about scaling that business, which I think something that Hawksmoor is really known for, and you're known for, is scaling to that 8-figure company, which is rare. What was the decision or the risk that accelerated that growth? And was it faster than what you imagined it to be?
I actually think for me, it's probably slower than I thought it would be, but I think it's out of choice as well. So one thing I realised, certainly from leaving the company that I was at for that previous 14 years, is delivering work to an exceptionally high standard is easy when you're in an established company that's been going 25 years. It's kind of all you know. There's another thing doing it for yourself. And my first project working for myself was probably 0.1% the value that my previous project of working for someone else was. And it was 100 times harder because it was all on me. And I got offered some large projects in the early years, and although I was ready, I could have delivered the projects myself with my own hands, being boots on the ground with a computer and stuff. I also knew the business wasn't ready. So I took over the first couple of years, it was always about to scale the business. Getting up to 8 projects at a time was always where I wanted to get it to, because I felt I could manage that with 4 project managers, two projects per project manager, and grow the size of the projects, not the amount of projects. So I see sometimes a lot of business owners taking on 12, 14, 16 projects to scale their business, and it's almost impossible in my experience to keep control of the quality. And ultimately, if quality is your USP and that's what you're known for, you can't do that. So for us, luckily in construction, the project, there's not a lot of difference sometimes between, let's say, a £1 million project or a £3 million project, the size of house. Sometimes the only difference in value is the specification that's put into that project in regards to the AV package or the joinery package or the price they put on their wood flooring and stuff. So for us, we're always maintaining that core 8 projects at a time, has allowed us to scale the business quite naturally and organically, and also then allows us to build the people and the teams alongside that as well. So for me, I've always tried to bring the people in first and the work after, which is not, I don't believe a lot of business owners do that. They try and win the work first and then bring the people in, because you need the money to pay them. It's a little bit chicken and egg. But I've always chosen to take the more expensive way of doing it, to find find the right people first. And if you hire slow, hopefully they stick around. Doesn't always work, People are people.
Yeah.
You will be let down.
You answered my next question, which was going to be, if somebody is in a position where they are looking to scale, what is one thing that you would recommend that they do to scale to that 8-figure company?
One thing.
Give them one bit of advice. What would it be?
One bit of advice. Well, I can base this on the people that I'm working with, helping them on their businesses, is a very simple thing that was given to me about 3 or 4 years ago. And it probably changed my life a little bit. Not operationally, but it was leaving my phone out of my bedroom. That might sound absolutely ridiculous, but not having my phone plugged into my bed as an alarm clock, basically. Because when you're in bed and you can't sleep, or something's on your mind as a business owner, like it always does to every single one of us, the natural thing is, I can't sleep, I'll just go on my phone. And for me, I put my phone in the kitchen. I bought an old-fashioned alarm clock, which now that I don't even have anymore, because I naturally wake up at the same time every morning. But I sleep like a baby now. Regardless of what's going on in the business, it's almost like changed my life. So I sometimes see people and I say to them, well, if you can't sleep at night, and they might say, well, I get into bed at 10, or I don't sleep till 1 or 2 in the morning. I said, well, how long did you spend on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, And it's that extra light and the brain working overtime. So that hopefully gives you better sleep, which allows you to be better the next day, to make better choices in your business.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've seen on a podcast before, Mel Robbins said the same thing, like have an old-fashioned alarm clock. And in the morning, the first thing that we do, rather than being mindful, is reaching for that phone. And then again, you've kind of answered my next question already. You're way ahead. Yeah. But many founders do get trapped in that operational chaos. So how did you recognize the risk and decide to pull back from the day-to-day running of the business?
I think for many, many years, hard work has never been a problem to me. I've never been shy of it. And I think I was always willing to do whatever it took to make sure the business succeeded. And that sometimes come at working 70, 80, 100-hour weeks. Before I had kids, obviously, it was possible. I had a very understanding what partner at the time is, who's my wife now. I'd often be sitting there tapping away on my computer until all hours. Probably a bit like the business owner I was trying to just tell you about moving your phone away previously. The morning of my wedding, I'd done 2 or 3 hours work. I was doing valuations. My commercial manager at the time, I'll never let him live it down. But again, I had to do that to make sure that the money come in for the business the week after. Didn't matter that it was my wedding day. The business was
priority.
The business has to be a priority. So it was recognising that I had kids on the way, and for me, it wasn't sustainable to keep working that way. So I realised I had to try and find the right people. And sometimes then people come from within. Some of them are still there now. I sort of elevated them and developed them and pushed them through training and stuff. And then I realised that I had to go out and find other people that would help the business grow to where I wanted to get it to, that believed in the same vision as me, believed in me as the business owner, that I will support them the whole way. And also then it was a book that I was given as a gift, probably coming up on 2 years ago now. And I read that book, and it was I'd been working with business coaches for about 6 or 7 years at that point. It was that book where I read it, and it was like, oh my God, it's like a light bulb moment. I was like, this book is going to change my life. And it was what it was, is all the problems and all the struggles that I was having in the business at that time. This was the missing piece. The book was almost the missing piece. Now, it wasn't the answer to how to do it.
Yeah.
I realised it was going to be a long journey from there. But for me, it was like, right, well, this is so simple. I need to put this in place. And that was basically EOS, which is like an American principle of how to structure a business, basically, and how to hold your meetings and hold accountability in a business and stuff as well. So I read that book 7 times over a Christmas period 2 years ago. And yeah, like I said, we're on the journey with that now. Still going strong with it. And it's a journey is the right way to describe it. Certainly taken a lot longer than I thought it would. But the mentor that we bring in that helps me implement it into the business said to me it's a minimum 2-year journey. And we're 1.25 years into that now, 1.5 years, something like that. And I can see why it takes 2 years, because it's all about finding the right people, putting them into the right seat, and allowing them to be their best, and basically all about delegation and allowing them to be the best that they can be. So
I think it's good as well to put out there's no quick way to do this. There's no quick way to fill them seats, to find the right people, and hiring the right people. It is a skill. It's also about sharing that value and that vision. So how do you uncover people's value in the hiring process?
Well, rather than it being about other people's values, is part of the EOS process is understanding what our values are as a business, what my values are as a business owner. So a lot of people don't realise their values already exist. I used to think that core values were something that's just on a website, almost like a keeping up with the Joneses sort of thing. Oh, we like this and we like that and we like this and we like that. When you actually realise that your values need to guide everything that you do, every decision that you make. And the EOS principle is that once you define what your core values are, you only hire based on them core values. And you assess everybody internally in your team on them same core values, basically. And yeah, it's a major recruitment shift that we've done. It's certainly helped me in the last sort of year and a half since we've been using the values as a process, as a tool for recruitment. And at interview stage, all my questions are only asked around core values. I don't ask really any more technical questions. Normally, my commercial manager, head of operations will ask technical questions before I get involved in that side of things. And the values really, the idea is that if you find somebody that has the right values, the skill set doesn't really matter, because if the values match, they'll learn what you need to do very, very quickly. And like our success rate, you don't always get it right. I don't think there's anyone out there in the world that gets 100% success rate. Our success rate of finding the right people, retaining them, I would say is almost 50-60% higher than it used to be. Because ultimately I always see hiring like a bit of a minefield. You will always see the best version of that person at interview. They'll probably never be as good as that again in reality. And that's the issue. What we've now started doing is I'll probably spend 4 or 5, 6 hours sometimes with somebody before I'll really offer them a job if it's a key role that's working personally with me. But it's almost as someone, when they start a new job, is a little bit like a New Year's resolution as well, I think. Yeah. They always start off great.
New slate.
Oh my God, I'm super motivated. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You can throw loads at them and I always think it takes about 3 months for somebody to really see their standard. Now, most people start off really well. Nobody ever really starts badly. If they start badly, you should be able to see that quite quickly. Yeah. And that has happened to me a couple of times as well. But after about 3 months is really where I assess somebody's ability. Are they still rising? Are they still peaking, or have they leveled off, or have they dropped down slightly? And for me, it's really after that 3 to 6 month period, then you can really see how are they going to be here long term. And after that period, then you kind of, if you got to the 6 months with us anyway, I think you could have a job for a long period of time. Yeah. But certainly through this process as well, through defining your core values, you appraise them at each stage through the hire, well, obviously through the recruitment process, but also as they're working for you as well. We've also recently started utilising a tool called Colby Assessments, which is like a personality assessment, which has been a game changer. And I wish I knew that 2 years ago. Yeah. And utilising that, core values, we're giving ourselves the best chance of finding the right people even before they come through the door, basically, to an interview. And at least then we know if their values match. We can ask questions around values. Do they have the ability under the Colby score to be able to do the job first and foremost? And what we've sort of realised is if you hire a lot slower than we used to do, there's that old saying, you hire slow and fire fast. I was probably guilty of sometimes always seeing the best in people. And I think as a business owner, you sometimes see talent in people that they don't see themselves. And just because you see it as a business owner doesn't mean it's actually there. Doesn't mean that they actually have it. It's just that you see something that they don't even know they have. Yeah. But for me, sometimes I was guilty of holding on to people sometimes for 6, 8, 10, 12 months, when in reality I knew after 2 or 3 months they probably had to go. But I knew they had potential. I thought, well, let me try and work with them. Are they a rough diamond? Can I polish them? And recently, I'm about to let someone go who at the interview stage was incredible. Lovely person, but just the skill set wasn't there. And after 7 weeks, we realised it. No hard feelings. We sort of just thanked them for the time, moved on. Yeah, for us, we have to understand that if they're not going to elevate the business, and they're not going to, you kind of want people to be growing at the same pace as the business, if not faster, or the business will outgrow them. That goes the same for everyone in the business, really, myself included. We want people that are going to grow faster than the business, if not at the same pace. And if somebody quite early doors, you're able to recognise that they're nowhere near where they need to be on the trajectory, there's no point stringing this out any longer. So
it seems like you have a very intense hiring program. It's something that you've really thought about, because delegation can be terrifying. So you want to make sure that you get it right. But has there been a time where handing over control has backfired? And if it did, what did this teach you going forward?
Has handing control backfired? Yeah, of course it has. I don't think you, the moment you, I haven't let go of full control of anything. I'm still involved in every sort of high level decision that the business makes. Obviously with my senior leadership team, we meet on a weekly basis. Every single decision is discussed as a team. I always try to run it a little bit like a democracy and not dictatorship, and we come to a collective agreement of a route forward. Sometimes my team and I will disagree on certain things. I can obviously override them and do what I need to do if I feel really strongly about it. But if you again go back to the point of finding the right people with the right values, if they kind of believe in the same thing you do, you'll all probably get to quite an easy decision and a route forward most of the time anyway. So we don't really have much conflict in the business anymore in our decision making process. And EOS gives us a weekly meeting it's a 90-minute meeting. We have a set period in that 90 minutes to talk about the weekly issues, and we decide it as a team, as the head of operations, sales and marketing, a commercial manager and head of finance, and all 5 of us sit there. We talk fruitions. It could be in any one of the departments. We talk it through, and we come to a collective decision. So, but letting go of control is one of the hardest things for any business owner to do, and certainly for me, as I come from doing everything myself to then. But what I've kind of found as well is, like, as the couple of years have gone by where I've started to let go of that control, as long as I've had the right person in the right seat, it's been a lot easier to do. You know, are they going to do everything the same way as me? No. Can they get to the same result? Yes. Do they have to go sometimes a little bit longer or a different way? You know, other times they get there faster than I might have got there as well, which happens both ways. So I just have to look at it as is it right for is that person and the decisions they're making, are they right for the business long term? And the law of averages, are they making more right decisions than bad ones? And again, if you have the right people, then they absolutely should be making the right ones. So
I think going back to what you said about seeing talent and seeing something in someone and maybe keeping them on for longer than you should, because you really want to pull that out of them, I think that dips into that business mentor, that coaching element. So you've built Hawksmoor and scale to 8 figures. But what inspired you to start mentoring other business owners?
I think for me, when I come off site, I might have been a very good carpenter, I might have been a very good site manager, project manager, all kind of rolled into one. Thought I knew I'd done enough private work in my 20s to think I knew what I was doing. Absolutely did not, and I had to learn the hard way through them early years. And I think it was the end of year 1, or maybe 3/4 of the way through that, where a friend of mine had said he'd been working with a business coach and he wasn't quite right for him. So I met with that guy, and he sat down and he gave me one analogy where, if you think of the best sports players that have ever existed, let's say Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, Messi, Ronaldo, all these different top level sports stars, every single one of them is coached every single day of their life. So if the best people that have ever done something are being coached, how can it not be good enough for a business owner? Yeah. And the reason being is, the next analogy he gave me was all about the Roman generals. And if you think back through war throughout history, even in today's age, you think of on the front lines, the generals are in another country, looking at all the monitors at high level, watching everything going happening on the front lines. And if you think back to the Roman times, the generals will be up on the hill looking down on the battle below. And sometimes just that person on the outside, one, they've got the right experience and they've been there and done it before, but 2, they're outside your business. They're seeing things that you don't see. And half the time, 3/4 of the time, you know the answer. You just haven't had the headspace or the time to actually sit down and process it and think it. And sometimes, like say, I started working with that guy, we worked with him for 3 years. He used to say things to me and I was like, that's so bloody obvious. How did I not see that myself, Yeah. And he was like, yeah, because most of the answers are in your head. That's the reason why you run the business. So for me, I've always kind of struggled to find a construction specialist, really, that kind of been there and done it. There's a few people out there in the market, but I kind of felt that someone that had come off the tools like me as a carpenter and worked his way up to running a decent sized business, I certainly couldn't find a business coach myself that had that experience. So I always worked with people that were kind of like business coaches rather than construction business coaches. So I think there's definitely a market there for it. And obviously I've been working with a few people now this year. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. Get great value out of helping people. I believe they're enjoying it too. It's the feedback I get so far. But I think ultimately I like helping people and seeing people do well. And if I can help people avoid and make the same mistakes that I did, hold them accountable as well, because sometimes accountability is key. Accountability is key. That sometimes if you know you've got to check in every 2 weeks with somebody and you're going to say, I did it or I didn't do it. For me, accountability, always accountable, is one of our core values as a business anyway. It's when you know that somebody is checking in on you, you're going to be more inclined to get that work done, roll your sleeves up and get it done. So sometimes accountability is key as well. So look, I just love helping people. I get great joy in seeing other people succeed,
Was there a moment when you realised, okay, I actually have something to teach here? And tell us a little bit about that.
Don't know if there's a moment that jumps to mind, but I think I've been asked quite a few times by various different people over the last couple of years to help them. And a few friends might come to me for advice, and they might not be in construction businesses or different ideas and things. And when you actually realise that running a business is not really different, doesn't matter if in construction.
Yeah.
Every business really boils down to the same things. It's about your operation, it's about your sales and marketing, it's about your finance, and it's about who's running the business and who has the big ideas. So there's sort of 5 key seats there. Kind of people kept saying to me, you should do this. And I always kind of thought to myself, well, I've done business coaching now for 7-8 years, worked with 3 or 4 different people. EOS coaches the whole business, and I'm now part of another coaching system. And I kind of thought maybe when I'm 50, another 10, 11 years, I'll do it then long term. But someone had asked me a couple of times, and I said, you know what, this year I'm going to say, it was when I took going back to New Year's resolutions. It was my New Year's resolution last year. The next person that asked me, I'm going to say yeah to it.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
Yeah.
And just being in that first interview or that first meeting with him, and you realise the stuff that's second nature to me that wouldn't have been second nature, let's say 2 years ago or 4 years ago, 6, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. But the stuff that I've had to learn along the way, the hard way, that is now second nature.
Yeah.
It's almost like, again, it's that light bulb moment where you're saying something to somebody and it's so obvious. So, and obviously the other people that I've started working with, again, it's the same thing over and over. And a lot, again, like I said to you earlier, a lot of these people know the answers to most of their questions anyway. It's just having that external factor, one, holding them to account, but 2, giving them a different perspective than they might be used to. Because sometimes some people can be running a business, it can be quite isolated, can be quite lonely. Certainly my experience, it definitely was. And unless you have loads and loads of friends who are business owners, I certainly didn't, and a couple, there's not really anyone to turn to. And your partner becomes the person that you have to unload to. And as I said, Frankie's very patient with me down through the years. She still is now. But sometimes business owners don't really have anyone to turn to at all. And then even if I'm just that shoulder to cry on, and a phone call or a text message or something else as well, again, the fact that I can be there for somebody in that instance if they need it, and more importantly, because I've been there and done it, I understand. I understand how bloody tough it is as well. You know, it's not like I haven't done it before. Yeah. So when somebody's saying something, I've done this and I've done this, and I said, well, what about this? And I said, oh yeah, well, you know, I just get great value from it more than anything.
Good. You talked about the struggles of being a business owner. It can be lonely, especially if you don't have that circle, that network. What is something that helped you overcome that challenge of, there's a certain amount that you've came home and told your wife, but she doesn't have all the answers. So now what? Someone who's in that position now, what would you tell them to do to navigate, to overcome that?
I think we're so lucky in this day and age to live in the world, digital world, where a lot of the answers are on YouTube or Instagram, in all honesty. If you know, but you have to know the right places to look. So even if you can't afford business coaching, apply yourself to learning, apply yourself to get out of your comfort zone. I hadn't read a book since school. I left school at 16 to play. I was going to play golf at the time, which is another lifetime ago. But I hadn't read a book since school until I was 29 years old. And now I'm a voracious reader, audiobooks, podcasts all the time. I'm just absorbing. And that's free ultimately. You know, you can go on Audible. I think it's £5 a month or something like that, and you can get books. And even if you can't afford the outlay for business coaching up front, at least apply yourself to learning, because sometimes I get a lot of the stuff that I learn is out of books or podcasts. And then once your business can afford it, reach out to somebody that you can learn off. You know, and I wouldn't ever say go with the first person either. You know, try and find 2 or 3 different people. So you can, for me, even if you look at the EOS model that we're part of, the guy that I ended up choosing, a chap called Johnny, he was we were one of his first or second or third client, very, very early in his journey of being an EOS implementer. Okay. And I spoke to people that have been doing it for 5 or 10 years, and I just clicked with him. Yes. Day one. He just got it. Even though he didn't know construction, he just got running the business. Me and him went really, really well. So a lot of it really is about, do you click with someone? Can you get on with them? And there's been other times of a different business coach that I worked with that I didn't click with. And various different reasons. People are different. You're not supposed to get on with everyone in life. Everyone's different. So I would always be inclined to say as well that if you sometimes feel isolated, do reach out to other people on Instagram, because there are a lot of people out there that will talk to you. Certainly in my experience, I often drop messages to certain people and stuff as well. There are people out there that keep their cards close to their chest and won't tell anything, which is that way inclined. But there's plenty out there the opposite of that want to help. You know, and certainly me now, I don't have all the answers. There's people that I have to turn to on a weekly or monthly basis and ask for advice. There might be a complication in the job or a project that's not going the way that we planned it, or there's a certain contractual situation that I need advice on. Well, I have enough of a support network now after nearly 10 years that I can turn around and know who to phone for the right advice at the right time, you know? At the same time, I'd like to be that person if they need to phone me for certain things, because I know I get the same phone calls in return.
Yeah.
They've got a problem on a job and they need another contractor's opinion on something that hasn't gone the way. So try and find a community.
Yeah.
Social media really is great now, because it's almost like a town square.
Yeah.
Everybody is available to everyone in this day and age. I think it needs to be utilised really, more so for that.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I want to touch on that is quite big in my industry, something that I hear every day, is imposter syndrome. You spoke that you were asked quite a few times to get into business mentoring, and you've been invited now onto podcasts and to do live Q&As. I know at the beginning you didn't want to get into the business mentoring until that New Year's resolution. What would you say to someone that is being asked to do these opportunities, but something is holding them back and maybe they're calling it imposter syndrome? What advice would you give them on that?
Imposter syndrome is such a funny thing, because I think I used to get it. I never really probably resonated that. I knew what imposter syndrome was. I knew what it was for years. But I've always kind of been self-aware enough to know that you are where you are for a reason. Yeah. And that you're not an imposter. And if you were an imposter, you wouldn't be asked it at the same time. Because sometimes people do want to hear your story or do want to hear what you have to say. But again, reach out to people that can help with the imposter syndrome, you know? People like yourself that people might not be confident talking on the mic or talking on camera and stuff as well. It's something that I've had to get used to, having cameras like these ones now shoved in your face. And but again, with the chat Nathan we work with on our video stuff, he said to me as well, again, great advice. I think it was morning one we were shooting, where it was like, don't assess yourself in this moment now against what you think it needs to be. Because when you see everyone's Instagram, or when you see their reels, or when you see their podcasts, or when you see the movies or the TV shows, everything is the edited version. And even like the best actors in the world have to do sometimes 15, 20, 25 takes of a scene to get it right. So if the best people that ever existed, again, go back to that point, need somebody there coaching them to act and how to speak, there's no reason why business owners shouldn't be. So if somebody is struggling with imposter syndrome, maybe try and reach out to somebody who can help with that. But ultimately, imposter syndrome is probably an internal feeling, because externally people want to hear what you want to say. Yeah. So yeah, and again, even for myself, it was getting out of the comfort zone a little bit. Still not fully out of it, in all honesty, but yeah, I enjoy it. It's about just applying yourself and getting out of your comfort zone, and that's where the growth happens. If you stay in your lane your whole life, you'll be on the trajectory you go on. Whereas the biggest opportunity for growth only happens when you get out of your comfort zone.
And even if you don't feel ready, just going for it, as you said, doesn't have to be perfect. Just giving it a go. Yeah. How has mentoring others changed your business, and is there anything that you've learned from your mentees that you'd now apply in how you run your business or how you live your life as a business owner?
That's a very good question. I think what's become super aware to me, probably something that I took for granted, is how much I've got control of my time back as a young, I'll say a young father. I'm 40 in a couple of weeks, but a father of young children. Yeah, I still feel 21. Yeah, a father of young children is probably what I should have said there. And again, them changes I had to make a few years back. Change doesn't happen overnight either. It's taken a long time. But I try to leave my house every day now. I'm quite strict with it. Try to leave my house 7:30 every day, and I try and get home every single day for 5:30. And that is really just for the kids. I want to see the kids in the morning. I want to see the kids bath time, bedtime, and dinner time in the evenings. Now, if there's 20 working days in a month, I'll try and make sure I'm there for 17 of them, at least in the evenings. So if I have meetings, I'll make sure that I don't have 2 or 3 of 1 week, you know? Yeah. Even coming out here tonight, you know, I'm on holiday with the kids, and you wrote me into this, but my boy crying, why are you going back to work? We're on holiday, you know? He's 4 years old, you know, they don't understand it. So I don't just want to be a dad that provides, I want to be a dad that guides and educates and be there for him more so than the providing aspect. But the thing that I've learned the most is, getting control of your time is so key. And as I said to you, that point about sleep is the first step. Get control of your sleep first and foremost, which is sometimes very, very hard when you have things in your mind. In the early years as a business, you take everything personally. not professionally. And again, I had to get really coached on that. Is separate yourself from the business.
Yeah.
Separate when somebody attacks you on an email or whatever like that, whatever might happen, which happens a lot, still does. Is they're attacking the business. Not you personally. They don't know you personally. They know the entity. They know the business. When you think of every brand in the world, you don't really know the person behind it.
Yeah.
You know, you might know the big brands, but most of them you don't really know. So try and get control of your time if you can. And the way to do that is the easy wins are time blocking. There's a system called time blocking. So anytime that somebody comes to me as an employee, obviously with the people I'm working with, is I say time block yourself and break your day down to 30-minute segments so that you can really understand what you're spending your time on from the moment you start work. It used to be 5 o'clock in the morning for me till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night every single Monday to Friday, most Saturdays, all day Saturday. So I used to time block myself and break my day into 30-minute segments. I was working on HR, pricing work, operational stuff, site management, project management, etc. And then what you can really see after a month or 2 months of doing that, you can really find where are the low value, what you class as low value items that I can actually get somebody else to do. Until you see until you see it written in front of you. Sometimes it's hard to imagine, okay, well, I could get somebody to do that for me. Yeah. And that could be somebody in the office to help out. Now, in this day and age as well, and with the internet, you can outsource out to the Philippines or India or a place like this for a fraction of the cost. And the people over there are amazing. I know people that use them super successfully. And for people that sometimes can't afford to hire a full-time staff member, outsourcing to the Philippines or India and them sort of countries, Sri Lanka, that speak perfect English, better English than half the English people here, in all honesty. But it can be a real way to get back a lot of time and allow you to spend more time on what you want to do. And if that win as a business owner has to really get back family time. So that's what the people I'm working with, I'm really trying to get them back their family time first. And this is not an easy win. It took me years. But you have to be willing to understand that it's going to take time and you're not going to fix it overnight. Because again, you're going to have to find people. For some of the people that I have in the right positions now, it's taken me 3 or 4 hires over the last 4 years to get it right, because I didn't have the values defined in Colby assessments and that sort of stuff. So sometimes this time around, maybe 1 year in, there's 4 or 5 staff members that I've hired first time and they've been exceptional. So really understanding the value of time is the most important thing, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's just a job. People can sometimes obsess over this unicorn they built and it's my baby and all this sort of stuff. It's just a business. The business can come and go. It can close down. You can start another one. And what's me, certainly myself, putting my health at risk over the years and working myself into the ground and work stress and stuff like that as well. Blood pressure went through the roof there at one point and I didn't recognize it. Stuff at times where working everywhere under the sun, just really understanding that you have to get control of your time first, and then you can take on the world. You know? Yeah.
You spoke about stress and blood pressure, and I think as business owners, this is something that we can really push to the side, and because we have that goal, that end picture, it's our baby. So speaking about stress and management, obviously going back to Hawksmoor, in your industry, clients can change their minds mid-project, and I'm sure that can be very stressful. Can you share a story with us where you turn something that could have been a disaster into a success?
Well, I can't tell you too much, but there was a situation a few years back of a project where the job was about a week away from finishing, 2 weeks away from finishing. Stunning job. It was finished immaculately. Large project. And client walked in and said, that door is wrong. The entrance door off the hallway. To like this large sort of, it was almost like a 2.5 meter door, custom made, structural spine wall of the house. And we had set it out to a drawing we were given. And the drawing was wrong at the time. These things happen. It was, what do we do here? This client had been amazing. She always has been. We went through there and we either turned around and dug our heels in and said, we built it to the drawings. But the job had been so successful to that point, we felt like, let's just resolve it. And what do we do here? Now, the client was so upset about the door. It really upset her at the time. But it was just a door. It could have been changed. But the fact it was so late in the day, the previous door had taken like 8 weeks of a lead time to get on site, and we knew we wouldn't get one on time. So we said, look, we'll have it resolved. We don't know how long it's going to take. We might be able to resolve it before we finish. And she was really upset that this door was wrong because it was made to match the rest of the doors in the house and stuff as well. So we managed to pull a massive favour. We got a door turned around in 4 days off a supplier. We had to take the whole wall apart. Massive amount of work. It was probably well over £10,000 worth of work last minute in a job, which is not what you need. But she walked in there the day he handed over. We didn't even tell her that we were going to have it done on time. We just said, leave it with us. We have no better. She'd gone away. And like I say, she walked in on their handover and the door was done. And we could have turned around on that situation and just said, not our fault, hold our hands up.
Yeah.
But she'd worked with us a couple of times before, and the relationship was too important to us. And we felt like we might be able to resolve it. So sometimes going an extra mile for a client when they treat you right will always pay off in the long run. And like I say, yeah, she nearly burst into tears when she walked in because the door had been fixed. It's very small. You're talking a very, very fine margins of why the door was wrong in the first place. Proper first world problems and all that sort of stuff. But the door was wrong. Ultimately, it's not what she wanted.
Okay.
And ultimately, clients will they're paying you for a service. You make sure they get the service that they're paying you for, and they'll always come back to you.
Yeah. And that brings me on to my next question, which is, I think, from what I know of you and Hawksmoor, you pride yourself on consistency and high standards. Has there ever been a time where those high standards have slipped a little bit? And how did you correct that as a business?
It's actually a story I was thinking about for the previous question, but I think that's a better way to answer it. I was going to say this one. There was a time where one of my long-term guys who'd been with me 8 or 9 years at that point, he read a drawing on a project, doing a basement, and assumed all the underpins, the concrete that goes under the ground, was set out the same as the one drawing he had read. Bit of a silly mistake to make. Didn't check all the drawings, but obviously he'd done 25 basements for me over the years. He worked for me probably 10 years before my business as well. So he's very, very experienced, but he ultimately didn't do his due diligence that he should have done. And they weren't to spec. The drawings weren't to spec. Now, no one knew about it. The client didn't know. The engineer didn't know. The architect didn't know. But we knew. I knew. And it really ate away at me for a couple of days. And the guys on site were, there's 2 ton of concrete here. It's not going anywhere. And I said, yeah, you're right. Ultimately, it's not right as per the drawings. So I had to turn around and own that to the client team. No one probably would have ever found out about it, in all honesty. But we turned around, and again, our core values being always accountable. We will always put our work right if it's not to the standard. That could have cost me. I was willing at that point to take it all out and do it all again, which probably would have cost me £70,000 or £80,000. Again, we could have. Some of the business owners might have just turned around and seen that as a risk they were willing to take, but not for us. We wanted to make sure that there was never any problems that come back to bite us down the line. So we owned it. Architect turned around. They were dumbfounded that we owned up to that without even it getting found out. Yeah. But because we did, is the engineer worked with us to work with them existing underpins that could be upgraded, and we was able to make them work. Now it cost me a fraction of what the money would have cost me to take it all out again. But for me, it was, again, this is before we had our core values defined, really. It's always about being accountable for the work that we're selling as a service. People sometimes forget that as a construction, your product that you're selling is the home that you deliver at the end of it, you know? So we just make sure that we deliver every project to the best standard that we can. And yeah, if we get something wrong, we'll always put it right, you know?
I think from everything that you've mentioned, and knowing you spoke about golf and you did music and running the business and finding the right people, taking your phone away and using an alarm. A lot of it is based around mindset. Talk to us a little bit about the mindset you think a business owner has to have, and what's something that you follow in your mind, or how you shape your mind for success.
I think as a business owner, you have to be so resilient to stress. Going back to your point about stress earlier, you have to understand that's par for the course. If running a business was easy, I've got a big poster above my desk at home that says, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yes.
And I always think if it was easy, every single person would run their own business. And I truly think, I was chatting to a friend of mine, Hugo, the other day, and I said, I think running a business is a little bit like evolution. It's about survival of the fittest. I think it's just survival of the most resilient. And how much stress can you put up with for how long? And I think if you have a good support network around you, it makes it easier to deal with that stuff. But for me, there's 2 philosophies that I live by, and they're both Japanese philosophies. One's called Ikigai. Yes. It's all about, do you know Ikigai?
Yeah, I read the book. The little blue book.
Yeah. So it's all about living a life of purpose to the day you die, whatever that purpose might be. And mine is about just trying to always do a great job, trying to develop people internally, externally. And the other one is Kaizen, about 1% improvements. So rather than always trying to see too far ahead and trying to play, right, we need to be 10% more profitable. Let's just try and be 1% more profitable, for example. Or how do we improve our systems by 1%? And Kaizen is all about 1% improvements all the time. Living your whole life by 1% improvements rather than trying to do too much too soon. Because everybody can think, well, can I be 1% better? Can I lose 1% of my body weight or anything like that, if that makes sense, rather than trying to say I need to lose 10 or 15%. So everybody can sort of understand and see what it takes to get 1%. But just if you always have that mindset to do 1% at a time and never let it go, your 1% compounds over years and years and years,
Rather than overwhelming yourself with the 10, and then you probably get to 2 and probably think, I've got so much ahead of me, I'll just give up here. Yeah.
And then also as well, I think as a business owner, sometimes one of the biggest lessons I've had is sometimes you can look at other people externally and think, oh, they have it worked out, or I want to have what they have. You have no idea, the saying that you should never measure yourself by someone else's measuring stick. So never look at any and compare yourself to anyone else. I used to do it myself and think, oh, look at that company, look at this company, and are doing great work. For me now, I don't look at any other company anymore. I got asked the other day, who are Hawksmoor's competitors, for example? I said, I have no idea. I don't care. Well, we're not competing against anyone. We're just competing against ourselves to be better this year than we were last year.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, the best thing to do is always look back to measure yourself. Never look forward. If you think, well, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, you'll live a whole life of wanting the whole time. Whereas sometimes you can look back and say, well, where was I 6 months ago? Where was I a year ago? Where was I 3 years ago? Where was I 5 years ago? And measure your progress against where you were historically, just yourself or where the business was.
Yeah.
You get a greater sense of fulfillment doing it that way around, rather than looking at what I don't have, look at what you have achieved.
Yeah. And I think as business owners, we can reach a milestone and think, yeah, okay, that's great. Now on to the next. What do you do? And you mentioned Ikigai, so I guess it all wraps into that as well. But what do you do to stay present and to celebrate your successes? Is that something that you do? Is it something you do within the company? Or how are you present and celebrate how far you've come? Yeah,
my wife always says, you're always on to the next thing, like you just said.
Yeah.
I think historically I was.
Yeah.
But now what we do is we always celebrate our wins as well. And when we do our quarterly sessions with Johnny, our EOS implementer, we always look back in the quarter and think, what were our wins? And every single person in the leadership team, you look back and say, well, what are our successes? And you write them all down on the board and you say, look, well done. Well, if you said this at the start of the last quarter, but also with your goal setting. So everything we do is all about long-term planning, 3-year planning, 1-year planning, and you reverse engineer that into quarters, basically. And when you set your goals out, he turns around and says, well, if you achieve 80% of them goals at this time in 3 months' time, would you say that's a success, basically? And at that point, you think, yeah, bloody hell, if I could do all this work as a team, every one of us achieves all our targets. That's a great quarter. Getting to the end of that quarter, then assessing yourself against it. Sometimes we achieve them, sometimes we miss it. But it's better to have set targets and miss half of them, but you've achieved half of what you set out to achieve. Rather than setting no targets at all. So goal setting is really important as well. We do that as a business religiously. We do that as a leadership team. We do that in each of the departments as well, so that everybody in the business is measured and KPI'd against that. And it's not just goals that I set for everyone or the departments. We set them as a team. As a leadership team, we set the goals together for each other. And Rowan, Simon, James, they take them into their teams and they set their targets as teams as well. So it's not like we're trying to force an unachievable goal onto someone and then hold them accountable that they haven't hit it. Somebody has to be, in Hawksmoor anyway, you have to be fully responsible and accountable for the goal that you sign up to. So that's why it's important that they're part of that process as well to set that goal.
Yeah.
Some people want 5 or 6 goals a quarter, some people want 1 or 2.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. One goal might be bigger than 5. If that's okay, one person just wants to concentrate for the next 12 weeks on that, that's fine. If that's all they say, you respect that as well. Yeah,
you're still hitting those goals, still achieving it. And you mentioned earlier on about construction mentorship and how it was difficult to find. And I think everything that you're saying this evening is resonating so much with me. I couldn't be further from construction. So I think it's so relevant for business owners. For that business owner that is in that place where you were 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like we spoke about before we started filming, having those 6 seats and they're filling every single role. What would you recommend their next step be, no matter what industry they're in, construction, fitness, coaching? What is the next step for them to achieve filling those seats and hitting the success that you've hit?
I think it all depends where you're starting from. It's quite a hard question to answer because everyone's at a different starting point. But I think everyone wants a different thing as well. Everything wants. So I think it's important to sit down there as a business owner. I think work out what you want to achieve. I think everybody can look a year ahead, And if you can then look 3 years, where would you like to be in 3 years? And then almost reverse engineer that. So have a 3-year plan, but then only really ever look as far forward as a year, because that's quite achievable. Everyone can look 4 quarters away, basically, and think, well, what do I need to do to get to that quarter? Who do I need to hire? How much extra revenue do I need to bring in? How many more clients do I have to sell to? How many more? We track our tender win rates, for example. How many more tenders do I have to price to make sure that we get them over the line? And really, because what I want as a business owner might be completely separate to what you want as a business owner, but that's okay as well. And never look at what somebody else has to say that's what I want. You have to really, really do some introspective thinking, and do it with your partner and your families, and work out what we're trying to achieve here.
What do we want? Yeah.
Do I want to work every hour under the sun to do whatever I want to do, or is time? I work with some people that time is the thing they want more than any monetary value. You know, other people where money is the driving force and they want profitability. So I'm sort of definitely seeing other business owners that I'm working with that they all have different reasons for doing what they want to do.
So identify your outcome and then start from there. Well, if it's money, then be prepared for those 80-hour weeks. If it's time, then as you said, identifying, well, actually, I hate sending emails and Zoom links and whatever it may be. So find someone to fill that role and then work from there.
Yeah. Every business kind of boils down to sort of 3 aspects: sales and marketing, the operation aspect of the business, the finance, the business. In construction, we have commercial. I think finance and commercial are 2 separate departments. They certainly are in construction anyway, from my experience. And then above them is the person leading the company and the person with big ideas. Usually, as a sole business owner, historically I sat in all 6 of them seats. It's about finding the right people then to fit into them seats. You know, you running your business, you might always want to have one or 2 people working for you. That means you'll never fill them 6 seats.
Yeah.
So who can you hire over the next 6 months, 12 months, 3 years to take 2 of them seats off you, or 3 of them seats, or however that works out. Yeah. But only you can decide that. Nobody like myself can tell you what you want. You have to decide what you want. Then you can work with somebody that can then help you to get that. And lay your plan out to them as well, because the right business coach should be able to help you achieve what you want to achieve as well. And I think the sign of a good business coach is when a mentee works with somebody and they feel they can't get any more value out of them, then I believe that a business coach has done the right thing. Yeah. There's a couple of business coaches that I worked with that I'm still great friends with now. One of the guys that invited me on that thing last week to speak on, which is great. I only worked with him for a year. But the sign, I think every good business coach should be able to let go after a certain period of time, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, 3 years of working with somebody. Job is done. Yes. That's a great thing for a business coach myself anyway, to turn around and say, right, well, I'm delighted that you think I can no longer teach you anything. Yeah. That's a sign that I've done a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
And that you've done a good job as well. So
it's a nice way to look at it.
It's not, for me, it's not that there doesn't have to be a bad ending. And every time we've finished up a business coach, I've laid it out of them. I've given them the reasons why I think I can go somewhere else. But try and find the right person that works for you as a business owner. And there's lots of help out there. There is lots of help out there. You just need to look for it. Yeah.
One thing that you said which resonated, and I think it will resonate for people that are listening to this, watching this, you hired the people and then brought the money in because you knew what value they'd bring, what an investment they were. What would you say to the people that are thinking, I need help here. I know that I'm scaling, but I'm scared to hire this person. I'm worried to hire. What if I spend the money on this person and then my business goes quiet or it doesn't come in? What would you say to that person? What should they do? Should they bite the bullet and hire the people and trust that the money will come, or what advice would you give to them?
I think you have to have a cash flow forecast to look ahead. You definitely need a very accurate 13-week one, which is just a week longer than a quarter. You kind of want a looser one for the next quarter after that. So sort of 6 months ahead to see, can I afford to hire somebody? At that point, then you have to assess where you're going, what targets you're trying to achieve. And then a lot of people sometimes look at hiring people as a cost to the business. It has to be seen as an investment. It has to be seen as an investment, because if somebody's going to come in and allow you to take on more revenue, or allow you to be more profitable, or allow you to get your time back. Some people that I hire are just to save my time. And that is, again, is an investment, because if my time is then taken up, if my time is less taken up by some of the tasks that I'm able to get somebody that's better at that job than me, then that's a major investment in myself.
It's worth the money itself.
My own mindset, as we spoke to earlier. And again, that's trying to align with what I want from my journey as a business owner. So sometimes you have to look at people and think, can you afford to not hire them? What's the point in having this long-term goal that you want to get to? Some people might be okay working on their own for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And that's okay as well. Everybody is on a different journey. There's no right or wrong in business.
Yeah.
But if you set this target that I want to be here in 3 years, 3 years comes around fast in my experience.
Yeah.
And as a father and a business owner, from the moment the kids wake up in the morning, I'm up early doors. I'm at work all day, super busy. By the time the kids go back, I get an hour or two, me and the wife, an hour or two in the evening, you're asleep again.
Yeah.
And it felt like my 20s lasted 25 years, and it felt like my 30s have gone like that, just because you're so busy. So 3 years comes around fast. So I think if you can work out where you want to get to as a business owner, then work out, well, who can I hire to take the lower value stuff? Like for me now, recently, I've just hired an EA. I didn't realise. I never knew the difference. I never knew the difference between an EA and a PA.
Yeah.
And the way an EA, the way in my head, it was an EA is like a caddy to a professional golfer.
Yes.
There's no professional golfer that you see on TV that doesn't have a caddy, basically. And a business owner should really be the same, because if you find the right EA, they're taking all the stuff that they're excellent at away from your table. And I'm already seeing the benefits of that for myself. Now, if you'd have said to me 5 months ago, you'll have an EA in 5 months, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
Categorically, I was like, no, I don't need someone to do my dry cleaning. I don't have dry cleaning, you know. But an EA is so much more than that. You know, they're almost like a strategic partner.
Yeah.
But again, it was that person at a coaching event was like, how have you survived 9 years without an EA? And I was like, what's the difference between an EA? Very simple question. What's the difference between an EA and a PA? And they described it to me, and I was like, okay, I think I could do it with one of them. I think that might work.
Good.
I had to go and do a load of research, then work out and go through the process. And but really it comes back to where you want to get to in your journey, what you want to do. Do you want to work 3 days a week? Do you want to work 4 days a week? Do you want to work 40 hours, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, for example? And really then build your business from there. You know, for me, hiring first has always been, it's definitely the more expensive way to do it, because you have to do that hire up front before you know you bring the revenue in. If you know, we always track our leads, we track our inquiries, we track how often they come. We've got like 9 years of data on that. So we kind of always know where the ebbs and flows are. Yeah. We track our win rate, our percentage, our value of tenders, all that sort of stuff as well. So it's almost like you got to speculate to accumulate sometimes as well. But the benefit is when you're hiring without really needing that person, you kind of hire slower naturally anyway. Yeah. So you're more inclined to make a slower decision and maybe a better decision, because you can be more fussy at that point. Whereas if you get, sometimes a lot of people, certainly in construction that I know and I speak to, will win a load of work. Sometimes you might not win work for 3 months, then you might win 3 jobs in a month, for example. And you think, right, where's all the people going to come out of? Yeah. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? So I need a project manager. I need a site manager. I need 5 carpenters. I need this. I need that. I need that. So in the construction world, they'll go out and interview 5 project managers or 3 project managers and think, oh, that guy seemed like a decent fella. I've done this myself, you know, where you turn around and say, he seems like a decent bloke. One fellow actually felt really, really sorry for the journey he'd been on, previous business owner, pardon me, and he was probably one of the worst hires because he was a raging alcoholic.
You don't need that on site.
He was only worked for us for 6 days, but he had like 4 bottles of whiskey under his car seat and some major, major problems, you know, but he definitely knew what he was doing. But again, I hired at the time in a rush because a situation had happened with a couple of guys, or certainly one guy that had been through a very unfortunate situation where I had to support him through some personal journey. He took some extended time off. So I was a project manager down that I had never planned to be down out of the blue. And I hired this guy, and 7 days later he was gone. Always hire slow, as slow as you can. Sometimes it's frustrating to do that because you need that person you want that person to come in and fix it. But it will pay off. But just take your time. Take your time and try and always interview as many people as you can.
Yeah. And then it's a different question. I think I'm really big. I mean, we touched on it a little bit before. I'm really big into energy, law of attraction, manifesting. But you touched on a few things there, like a bad hire or 3 months where work doesn't come in. And we're in Dubai. I think there's a really big hustle culture and a lot of people are out here on commission only. When you have those 3 months where work isn't coming in, but you've made that hire and you have outgoings and people are relying on you, how would you handle that in terms of how you show up every day, energy, having faith? What is your view on all of that?
I think you have to lead by example, and you get out of the world what you put into it, if that makes sense. And if I went to my office and I openly displayed how I felt every single day, I'm not saying I don't ever do it. You know, some of my staff might look at this and think, he could be a bit animated and stuff. But I try my best to bottle it up, you know. And nobody wants to. Again, going back to the previous business owner that I worked for, nobody wants that aggression. Nobody wants that sort of stuff. That sort of culture where you're living in fear or you're working in fear, you know. And a lot of construction works that way because it's a rough and ready industry. Ultimately, you know, you're working with a lot of high net worth individuals, but you also have to be able to work with the guys on site as well, the ground workers, the scaffolders, the guys that are a bit rough around the edges, all lovely people,
nitty gritty.
But yeah, again, I've come off site. I am one of them, them people myself, you know. So you have to be able to deal with both ends of the market. But I think you have to show up to work and be the person that you would want to work for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that if I was looking for a job tomorrow, who would I want to work for? Well, I'd want to work for somebody that believes in me, somebody that's going to give me every opportunity to succeed. He's going to put his trust and faith in me in day one. And that's the person ultimately that I want to try and be for my staff. And there's people in the business now that have been exceptional. And going back to that point earlier about the pace of the business and the natural growth of the business and the people that have been able to stay with me. There's a couple of guys that have been there since literally day one that are still growing at the same pace of the business, if not faster, because they keep developing. They're willing to do what it takes to stay in the business. There's a couple of key people. There's a girl in the office. She joined us, must be nearly 4 years ago now, if not 4.5, doing our social media and office admin. You know, she absolutely smashed that for a year and a half. We needed a buyer in the procurement department, so we thought, well, we interviewed for a load of people, couldn't find someone right, and Ola was like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
she was already kind of assisting James, the surveyor at the time, and she come in and she was a game changer. Done really, really well. Helped us build out that sort of role in the business that didn't exist before. And she kind of outgrew that job as well. And she's now in university doing a master's, a surveying degree. So again, for me, I would want to work for a business owner that wants to give me them opportunities, not like the guy that I work for. It was like, no, you are where you are. You're never going to get any better than that. So I always try and keep my mindset to always be the person or the leader that people want to believe in. And there's two ways of leading. And you can either lead out of fear or lead out of respect. Kind of, if they lead out of respect, they probably fear you a little bit anyway, because they know that you're holding to account. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you scream and shout or you're aggressive about it, but they know your standards are there.
Yeah.
And if I'm clear about my standards and what I expect as a business owner, hopefully if you find the right people, they all want to go on the same journey as you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So looking back and combining Hawksmoor and your business mentorship, what would you coach yourself or tell yourself at the very, very start of Hawksmoor?
You can't do it all yourself. Even though you have the ability to, and you will do it anyway, you can't, and it's not sustainable, and it will cause you major health issues more than anything, major headache, major stress. I would recognise probably earlier on, I would hope to have recognised earlier on, you need to let go of control, that you can't control everything, you know, some people might call it a control freak. I think that's just perfectionists or business owners, because you know that you can do a better job than most of the people that are working for you at the time. So I would hope to have, I tried for years to build a team, and then I always kind of felt I was always paying market rate, not getting market rate standards back as well sometimes. But yeah, I'd really try and say, really define where you want to get to as a business early on, and build your staff and build your team around that, not make it up as you go along, because everyone does that. I did that, if that makes sense. But I think, yeah, as early as you could in your business, get some mentorship from somebody that can help you out, and believe that you don't know it all. And that somebody outside the business, if they're the right person, is going to hold you to account. They're going to work with you, not against you. And for me, having the right mentor was almost always like having a business partner as a sole business owner, without them actually having any upside in the business. Somebody that just sort of cheers your wins and holds you to account when you don't show up as well. So yeah,
definitely. I think it's really evident that your journey from a solo business owner to now scaling, having that team, now going into business mentorship, has been such a big factor in your growth. What story from your mentoring experience could you share with someone who's maybe hesitant to get a business coach? What story could you share with us that could convince them to invest in one?
I think the first time I turned around and I sat with a chap called John, And I worked out what it was he was going to cost me for that year. I thought to myself, right, that's a lot of money. And then I thought to myself, right, well, what is that? Well, if I have to work out if I was going to look at that as an item of profit, let's say I did it at the end of that year, well, maybe 1.5 years in, something along them lines. I can't remember exactly. And I turned around and I worked out his yearly cost. Then I worked out, right, well, if that was the profit, how much extra revenue would I have to bring in just to be able to afford it? And then I thought to myself, well, how much harder am I going to have to work to bring that revenue in? I kind of almost reverse engineered the cost, if that makes sense. And thought to myself, right, well, for 1 year, I'm going to commit. The guy was on a monthly rolling contract. He said, there's no contract. I said, no, but I'm going to commit for 1 year, even though I had no ongoing contract with him. And I worked out, I said, right, well, I'm going to go win another job and work extra hard to be able to afford it. Because at that time, it was in my ability to win that work, if that makes sense, because I was kind of in control of the work we were winning because we were quite in demand and people wanted to work with us. So I kind of knew I could bring the work in if I really wanted to, and I would have to stretch myself, no one else. So I kind of committed at the time, spoke to my partner about it, and I said, right, I'm going to work and I have to work extra hours here, but I'm going to do it to be able to afford this. And what I quite quickly realised is that by working with that coach, I didn't have to work any extra hours because the changes that he made at me were so key, so valuable, so early on, because some of it was so bloody obvious. I brought the extra revenue in and it just went straight to the bottom line. And I got my time back. I got some time back. Maybe less time than I did, you know? So try and always work out and think it's not a cost, it's an investment. And you'll never spend better money than what you spend on yourself. And it's an investment in you, not the business. And luckily in this day and age, the business can pay for it as well. So it's almost like a free investment. Look at it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've recently invested in a business coach as well. And I remember one thing she said to me, I was taking time off over the summer. And I said, I'm really interested. I'm not going to do it now, but I will do it when I come back from my summer holidays. And she said, no problem. If you want your business to boom now or boom in a few months, that's completely up to you. I'll be here. And just when she said that, I thought, why am I waiting? Why am I putting this off? And it's the same thing. I committed for a year. I put it out. And at the beginning I thought, I'm going to need to do some hard work to afford this every month. That was only in May. What are we now? September. I don't even see the money coming out now, which a few months ago was like a lot of money for me. But because of the changes that the mentor has made in weeks, I don't even recognize that money coming out, you know? Whereas before it was something that, I would have obsessed over and fear over, and I won't do it now, it's not good timing, I'll wait until everything's aligned. And so sometimes it's just going for it and knowing that if you give 110%, it's all going to come back for you anyway.
So what changes would you say she's made? If you don't mind me asking.
She's made, good question.
You don't have to go too much detail, but just because again, when you spoke about go back to year one of the business, and obviously you're at your position in time. And for me, it's always good to see somebody from the other side of the, and if she's made them changes for you early on and you're seeing the wins already, I'd love to know what they are. A
big thing was she's a business coach, a life coach, and a manifestation coach. So a big thing for me, the whole reason why I went to her, being very transparent, is we got married and we realised that we're not very financially responsible because we spent too much money on our wedding. So when we came back, I was operating out of fear. Like I mentioned, I'm big into energy and manifesting. So I was operating out of fear and saying yes to things that I think I knew didn't align with me. But I was thinking, well, we spent too much money. I'll just do it anyway. I'll just say yes. And then I think she, made me, and it's something that you touched on as well, is act like the person that you'd want to manage or you'd want to manage you. For me, she says, act like the person you want to become. So if I want to be a 6-figure, 7-figure CEO, would she say yes to this job? And actually, just from reframing these things, like even the other day, a lady said, look, I'll pay you X amount over what you're charging, but I want sessions on a Sunday. And there was one, I'm talking about that time. So I had to think.
Value of time,
I had to think, Danielle, do you want this money or do you want to have a free Sunday? And the old Danielle would have said, I'll just take it. I'll just take the lady. And then I would have thought, this bloody class again on a Sunday, whereas I actually just sat and said, no, that would be operating out of fear if I take her because she's going to give me money. That's not what I want in my business. So I said no. Then she actually came back and said, no problem, let's do a Friday, which is perfect for me then, so it shows. And I think she helped me with my business suite, all these type of things. As you said, you can be amazing at what you do. I love what I do. I'm great at what I do. Do I know how to run a business? it's a completely different ball game, isn't it? So sometimes it's just having that person where I can say, look, this and this and this has happened. And deep down, I know the answer. But just having her to
someone
say,
to bounce off,
yeah, exactly, and to put in those processes like we spoke about earlier on. Right now, the position that I'm in, I'm going to keep on capping at that position if we don't completely restructure my business. But do I know how to restructure it by myself? No, I was an actor and a teacher. I don't know how to do that, you know. So yeah, it's having that accountability, that knowledge, that wisdom, and then for me, really having someone to make sure that I'm not overthinking, doubting, operating out of fear, you know, and staying in that boss bitch energy, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it. But it's not putting it off until you think, okay, I have the money here. Everything is aligned now. Now I'll go for it. Because realistically, that's never going to happen, is it? So you're just never gonna invest, you know. So just biting the bullet and going for it.
Good.
Yeah,
great.
Okay, last question.
Okay,
it's a good one. If I say so myself, I like this one. Okay, it's different. So, if you were to strip away your business, your title, your achievements, what do you want the person you are today to be remembered for?
Jesus, that's heavy.
It's very deep.
Yeah, just what I need on a Thursday evening. What do I want to be remembered for myself? What
would you want others to remember you for? Let's do it two ways. What would you want others to remember you for, and what would you want to remember yourself for? You have nothing. You don't have the...
Personally or professionally or both?
Both. Let's do both.
That's hard. Well, first and foremost, that he was a great dad and a great husband.
Yes.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said at the beginning that you're more than a business owner. I think, the most important thing for you, I got that from you the first time I spoke to you straight away, was talk about Frankie, the kids, and, you know, so that links in.
Yeah, I think, that's that. Yeah. As I said, I want to be their provider. I also want to be the person that raises them and guides them and helps them along the way and picks them up when they fall and all that sort of stuff. And they've fallen over quite a few times in this holiday in the swimming pool. Baby keeps getting under the water. I keep catching her. But yeah, I think also as I think that's kind of personally, professionally, really, it's about a person that always tried his best, be it right or wrong. And I always went with what I thought was the best at the time, even if the result didn't work. And I always tried my best to believe in people. I always feel like I put my trust into somebody the day they start with Hawksmoor. It's up to that person to lose the trust. But I always feel that I hold up my end of the bargain. It's normally the other person that doesn't, you know. But yeah, I always try. I want people to be their best, and I will do everything in my power to support them along the way. And there's someone in the team now that I've been trying to push on to do a qualification for the last 4 years. He doesn't want to do it, and I respect the decision. But one day I'll get him to do it because I know how valuable it will be to him. You know. So yeah, I just want to always be. Well, if I could be remembered, it's like a bloody obituary here now, as somebody who tried his best to help people.
Yeah.
You know. And I think you can live a life, going back to the key guy, live a life of purpose is whatever about business and earning money and all that side of thing. That's kind of irrelevant. If you live a life of helping people, I think it's quite a fulfilling way to live life. That's certainly the experience I've had this year once I've started the coaching and the mentorship with other people is I get more value in my mind and in my soul, in my heart of helping people more than the monetary value, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You know, the fact that you're able to really help people that are struggling, I don't think there's a better feeling in the world than that, you know? So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully that developing over the next few years.
Yeah.
Seeing what journey the business goes on alongside that.
It links back to that purpose as well. Hey, that purpose, that ikigai, following your passion. Yeah, it's not always about the money. It's about how it makes you feel as well.
Yeah. Like money, me and Mum are very close, and she raised me on the mindset that if money is the driving force of why you get up in the morning, you will never have enough.
Yes.
And if you want £1, you get £1, then you want £2, then you want £4, then you want £8, and then you want £10, and then you want 1,000 and 100,000. That's what she used to say to me. Then you want 1 million, and then you want 10 million.
Yeah.
And, she was around plenty of people that live that mindset. But she always coached me and guided me that if money is the driving force of why you get up in the morning, you'll never have enough. Whereas money should be the byproduct of why you do what you do. If you concentrate on doing a job correctly, money will always flow into your hands. So yeah, I've tried to always live my life by focusing on the professionalism of the service that we offer, and whatever happens here with the financial situation, it happens, you know.
Yeah.
And there's good times, bad times. It ebbs and flows after nearly 9 years in business. It does go up and down like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, money is kind of irrelevant. In all honesty, it's a tool. It's a vehicle that pays for things. And if I wanted to make money, I certainly wouldn't run the business the way that I run it. I could probably have a lot more in my back pocket. But again, it's not about that for me. It's about building a place where people can belong, people can develop. And ultimately, in a perfect world, I think I get the business to be self-managing, so it can operate without me, or at least me sort of overseeing from an even higher level than I am now. And I'd like more long-term to help people more, and that'd be more of my day-to-day job. Because again, you get more purpose, more value out of it. I personally do anyway, out of that. So we'll see what happens over the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah. So you think the end goal, the end dream for you would be to oversee Hawksmoor in that number one chair, that top chair, but the main day-to-day be coaching, mentoring? Yeah,
I think if I had somebody running the day-to-day at Hawksmoor and me sort of overseeing them and the sort of higher level stuff, that would be a great position to be. It's like the holy grail for every business owner, I think, which is not, it's very, very hard to get there. And again, it aligns with your goals. You know, if you always want to chase growth and you want to chase turnover and that sort of stuff, you might never get to that position. But for me, it's not about that. It's about maintaining. I will always maintain my life balance, especially knowing what I know now, a work-life balance that I can live with. Whatever the turnover becomes of Hawksmoor is irrelevant to me. It'll be what serves me and my purpose of life, of living the life that I want to live. And if I can do that and get somebody else that really wants to run the day-to-day and they're really motivated and that's their purpose under a key guy and that sort of stuff, then great, we're able to both get what we want from a situation. And there's a plan in place for that already, hopefully, at very early stages. But then, more of a day-to-day sort of long-term goal for me is to help more business owners. I don't see that as work. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't see helping people as work, even though you get paid for it. And that to me is like the true purpose of like
the goal, the dream.
An amazing job. Now I love what I do in construction anyway. You know, there's good days, there's bad days, but I love it as a generalization. You know, I don't get up in the morning and think, oh bloody hell, I've got work today. I've always loved it, you know. But the coaching side of it to me is like, hold on a second, how am I getting paid for this? It's like it's a little bit like, how am I getting paid for this? Because you just love helping people, you know. When you're there and you're guiding and stuff, you know. So hopefully for me, they can develop that way, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, amazing. So maybe next time you're back in Dubai, we'll be doing a whole other podcast just about your coaching, your mentoring. Take 2.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll interview you next time.
Yeah.
Deal?
We'll see. Deal.
Cool.
Okay, guys, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for Paul. We mentioned a little bit at the beginning, but he is on his holidays and we twisted his arm to come into the studio to spend his time here when his kids are wondering where he's gone on his holiday and record this podcast with us. And I think something that we touched on throughout the podcast is that it's not just for construction industry. This is valuable for anyone in business, thinking about getting into business, at the peak of their business and want to scale. Maybe they're going through a tough time, like that roller coaster. Maybe you're not in business, you're in that 9 to 5, you're running a side hustle, you want to know about mindset, books, investment, mentorship. I feel like we've really covered a lot here. It's been very beneficial for me. And again, thank you so much for joining on your holiday.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good job, well done.
Can I get back to my holiday now, yeah?
Yeah,
Cheers.
Get back to it now. Look after ease.
Yeah, that's it.